Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Haribo, play cartels? Play cartels, please. 2. You play also. Huh? One. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Okay, so we're going to talk about Bhagavad-gita tonight. We're going to talk about faith. And there's a verse here. If we can pass out. Govinda, can you pass out some Bhagavad-gitas, please? Find the verse. Shadadana Purusha, chapter 9, verse 3. we're going to read tonight. So that's on page 380 of this Bhagavad-gita. All right, so everybody got it? Yep. You got it? Yep. Page 380. Okay. Ashraddha dana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsaravatmani. Ashraddha dana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsaravatmani. Somebody else like to chat? Ashraddha dana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsaravatmani. Anyone else like to chat? Okay, so Ashraddha dana, those who are faithless, Purusha, such persons, Dharmasya, toward the process of religion, Asya, this, Param Tapa, O killer of the enemies, Aprapya, without obtaining, Mam, me, Nivartante, come back, Mrityu, of death, Samsara, in material existence, Vatmani, on the path, Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. Please repeat. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. Purport. So this is... it's not so long. We can take turns in reading this. Purport. The faithless cannot accomplish this process of devotional service. Can you get another microphone there so we can take turns in reading? The faithless cannot accomplish this process of devotional service. That is the purport of this verse. Faith is created by association with devotees. Unfortunate people, even after hearing all the evidence of Vedic literature from great personalities, still have no faith in God. They are hesitant and cannot stay fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. Thus, faith is a most important factor for progress in Krishna consciousness. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that faith is the complete conviction that simply by serving the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, one can achieve all perfection. That is called real faith, As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 4:31-14, by giving water to the root of a tree, one satisfies its branches, twigs, and leaves, and by supplying food to the stomach, one satisfies all the senses of the body. Similarly, by engaging in the transcendental service of the Supreme Lord, one automatically satisfies all the demigods and all other living entities. Therefore, after reading Bhagavad-gita, one should promptly come to the conclusion of Bhagavad-gita. One should give up all other engagements and adopt the service of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. If one is convinced of this philosophy of life, that is faith. Bobby?
Now, the development of that faith is the process of Krishna consciousness. There are three divisions of Krishna conscious men. In the third class are those who have no faith, even if they are officially engaged in devotional service. They cannot achieve the highest perfectional stage. Most probably, they will slip after some time. They may become engaged, but because they haven't slip after some time, they may complete conviction and faith. It is very difficult for them to continue in Krishna consciousness. We have practical experience in discharging our missionary activity that some people come and apply themselves to Krishna consciousness with some hidden motive, and as soon as they economically a little well situated, they give up this process and take their old ways again. It is only by faith that one can advance in Krishna consciousness. As far as the development of faith is concerned, one who is well versed in the literatures of devotional service and has attained the stage of firm faith is called a first class person in Krishna consciousness. And in the second class, those who are not very advanced in understanding the devotional scriptures, but who automatically have firm faith that Krishna Bhakti, or service to Krishna, is the best course, and so in good faith has taken up. Thus they are superior to the third class, who have neither perfect knowledge of the scriptures nor good faith, but the association and simplicity are trying to follow.
But by association and simplicity are trying to follow. Yeah, they're trying to follow by their association and simplicity. Yep, that's good. Keep going.
The third class person in Krishna consciousness may fall down, but when one is in the second class, he does not fall down. And for the first class person in Krishna consciousness, there's no chance of falling down. One in the first class will surely make progress and achieve the result at the end. As far as the third class person in Krishna consciousness is concerned, although he has faith in the conviction that devotional service to Krishna is very good, he has not yet gained adequate knowledge of Krishna through the scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-gita.
That's good, Govinda. Okay, Bobby, do you want to take it from there? Thanks, Govinda.
Sometimes these third-class persons in Krishna consciousness have some tendency toward karma yoga and jnana yoga, and sometimes they are disturbed. But as soon as the infection of karma yoga or jnana yoga is vanquished, they become second-class or first-class persons in Krishna consciousness. Faith in Krishna is also divided into 3 stages and described in Srimad Bhagavatam. First-class attachment, second-class attachment, and third-class attachment are also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 11th canto. Those who have no faith, even after hearing about Krishna and the excellence of devotional service, who think that it is simply eulogy, find the path very difficult, even if they are supposedly engaged in devotional service. For them, there is very little hope of gaining perfection. Thus, faith is very important in the discharge of devotional service.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so in this verse, in this purport, just here, Srila Prabhupada, he quotes a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita that is the definition of faith. It's like the dictionary definition, or what is it, breaks it down. That verse in Bengali sounds like this. Shraddha shabde vishwas kahe shudridha nischay Krishna bhakti kaila savakama krita hoy. That the definition of faith, or what faith means, Shraddha shabde, Shraddha means faith, Vishwas kahe, what kahe means to speak that. What does that mean, kahe? Sudrida nischay. Sudrida, drida means very fixed, immovable faith. Shraddha, nischay. Krishna bhakti, devotional service or bhakti to Krishna. Krishna bhakti kaila, doing that. Sava karma, sava means all, and karma means activities. So religious activities, material activities, any kind of activities. Sama karma, sarva karma, krita is performed, hoy is done, that happens, is achieved. Krita hoy is achieved. So here the important definition of faith is given, and we'll tease this out a bit. What does this mean, right? Let's go back to the English, this verse, that faith is the conviction that simply by serving the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, by performing devotional service, then everything will be achieved. So sometimes we think of faith as being like a belief. And this is kind of implicit in, at least in the Western upbringing, that we have in the Western culture. It's a very broad term to say Western culture, but in general, that kind of culture that we grew up in, when we hear the word faith, we think of that means belief in, accepting that. I have faith in that, yes, I accept that. I have faith in this person, I accept them, what they do, like that. But here the definition of faith is a little different, right? The definition of faith that the Chaitanya Charitamrita is giving, and that is sort of following on from this verse of Bhagavad-gita. All these books are complementary, and all are speaking the same philosophy. Is that what faith really means is the ability to put service to God as the primary factor, or the primary goal, the primary activity of our life. That's really essentially what it's saying. That's what faith means. Faith means that I have a trust that if I serve God, if I serve Krishna, if I dedicate my life to serving God, then everything else will be taken care of. That's faith. It's not that every single part of the scripture. Yeah, I believe that. I believe it's not possible, right? Because we're talking about a process that takes us beyond the current level of existence we have, right? We have a certain level of existence. We use our senses. We have a certain way we're thinking. But by definition, and every great spiritual tradition of the world is giving the same thing, that it's transcendent, it's beyond this, the kingdom of God, it's beyond this by definition. So it's not possible that we can have full faith in every part of the description of a transcendent reality that's above our current existence. It's just not possible, and it's unrealistic to think, that we can. It's unrealistic to think that we can have full faith in that. But what we're trying to achieve is a faith that keeps us going on the process. In other words, a faith that keeps this as the goal of our life, that we don't change the goal of our life. We have that goal, our goal is Krishna, our goal is service to God, and we're not going to change that goal. That's faith, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? To understand that simply by performing that activity, then our life will become perfect. Everything in life will be achieved. Okay, so it's quite a different concept of faith. Sometimes, especially in the West, we sort of take faith as a sort of a binary political statement, right? I talked about this about last week or the week before that. Through history, especially in the Middle Ages and so forth, the beginning of Western culture, and both in Europe and in the Middle East, and faith was more like, do you have faith in this person, or we're gonna do something bad to you, or whatever. Oh yes, I have faith in them. It's more like a political statement. It's not really a deep spiritual statement. Of course, there is deep spirituality in those traditions, no doubt. We're not saying that, but very much the idea of faith has sort of become, I would say, polluted in a way with this idea that you must say you believe, or we're going to, even in India, right? There many people converted from being Hindus to Muslims when the Muslims came, because the Hindus were taxed heavily and the Muslims had all these tax breaks and everything. So if they weren't really very spiritual, they said, I think I'll become Muslims. Much easier. They were killed. And
they didn't understand that just a bit of neat water or malacha water didn't actually turn them into Muslims.
Yeah, so I was giving the subtle, the more, the lower level. I'm giving a class. I was giving the sanitized version. But yeah, basically, and yeah, yes, definitely, yeah. So and everything else. Okay, right. Just addition there from Krishna Baba. Thank you for that. So, but anyway, the point is, whatever was done to them, it was basically a political statement. It wasn't a spiritual statement. And still, we sort of have that idea when we think of faith. We think of, I have to accept everything. But Krishna is not asking for that. Krishna is not giving that. And certainly Chaitanya Charitamrita is not saying that. It doesn't say, you have to accept every single part of these scriptures and all of the description, everything, and fully believe it. It's not. That's unrealistic. That's like, it's not real. That's not how the real world works. The real world works by we interact with something. Just like when I was younger, we used to put the money out for the milkman and to clean bottles. And in the morning, you'd come after you woke up, you'd see the money was gone and the milk was there. So if you keep doing that, you develop faith. All right, I put the money out and the milk will come. So you keep doing that. There's a process. Like we're driving our car, and when we pull in the steering wheel that way, the car goes that way, and we develop faith. Oh yeah, naturally, if I go like this, it'll go like that. Faith is a process. It's a process where we interact. Really, we'll talk about a few different aspects of faith this evening, but we'll try to come back to this definition, because this the essence of it is that to accept that serving Krishna, devotional service to Krishna, this is going to give me the ultimate perfection. Now, I may have to add other things. I may have to do it in a different way to other people, or figure out about my own psychophysical nature and my, what I'm good at, what I can do for Krishna, what I can't do for Krishna. We have to figure those things out, sure, that's fine. But ultimately we have to keep that as our ultimate goal. And Chaitanya Charitamrita says, then we are faithful. Then we have that we're a faithful person and we can progress on the path. Right? So the ability to keep engaging in Shravanam Kirtanam, this is what is faith. That is the process, that we don't give up. We don't give up that process. If we... One thing to realize about faith is that we're in a culture that is very cynical or negative towards faith, towards a faith in something transcendent. And we see throughout the culture we have this term blind faith. And there's so much sort of propaganda, or don't have blind faith in that. But nowhere do you hear the word, the English idiom, blind doubt. Has anybody ever heard that? It's not a thing, right? But why isn't it? Why isn't it blind doubt? So if you meet somebody, right, and like whether you need, you're trying to get a job or you're trying to get some food if you're starving in the desert or whatever, but whatever it is, just imagine you meet somebody. Now, if that person can give you what you want, right? And you just are completely doubtful about them. No, I don't believe. Oh no, you can't. I don't believe that you actually run a company and you have the exact perfect job for me. I have no faith. I don't believe that. You just blindly doubt them. Then you'll miss out on a lot of good things, right? And if there's somebody that doesn't have your best interest at heart, and you believe them, like blind faith, then you'll also get in trouble, right? There's trouble either way. But somehow or another in our culture, there's this thing of blind faith. Oh, blind faith. Oh, yeah, they have blind faith. And you see in the news, oh, these people had blind faith in someone. But they never talk about blind doubt. What about someone who was just doubtful their whole life, and they could have had a process, they could have taken guidance from so many people to improve their life, to give up their addictions, to have positive relationships and all that, and they didn't. They just, oh, no, I don't believe it. No, it's not true, it can't be. But you never hear those stories. Why? Well, it's just it's one-sided. It's one-sided. It's a one-sided look at faith. If we analyze it, practically, it's just as bad. It's just as bad to not get something good that someone could have given you due to being completely doubtful, than to get something bad that someone gave you by being too faithful. Obviously, the middle ground is the thing, being, having appropriate doubt and having appropriate faith. So it's interesting it's important to think when we're sort of looking at, our own minds are very much affected by the world we live in. We're in this environment. And to understand that we're in a faithless, society that very much promotes faithlessness. If you go to university and you say, I have faith in God. I'm a biologist, and I'm a scientist. I studied biochemistry. I have this whole, this is my PhD and everything. And you go and you say in part of your CV, you put, at the same time, I have faith in a divine, intelligent creator. There's an intelligent creator, and I'm trying to very scientifically understand that. Do you think you're going to get the job? You're not going to get the job. You won't get the job. Many scientists who are people of faith, they keep it to themselves. They don't say that. If you talk to them privately, they'll say that, but they won't publicly say that. So that's just one thing to note about this whole point of faith, right? And it's very much a symptom of sort of Western individualism. We have the big, in the West, the cowboy riding out on the horse, and he's the one, he's going to get it done on his own, he doesn't need anyone else. This kind of breeds this faithless thing. You find in the Eastern traditions, and from India and China, and in the East, there's very much a bigger, emphasis on support from other people, society, or you have to have faith in what your big brother's going to tell you. He's going to look up. They need that. There's a whole culture of faith and support that's being rapidly broken down now, of course, with the Western ways. But we are very much programmed to think like that, and it's just important to understand that. So this is mostly what I wanted to say, and also one last point, having faith in teachers. Srila Prabhupada actually he was very strong against some of his members who started to say that he was like God, he was God. And this is in 1970. And Prabhupada said that the disease there is personal ambition, because they're thinking, if Prabhupada is God, then we can become God, we can become perfect, we can become like that. So this is a more sort of advanced point in a way that we have to understand that faith in Guru is a faith in Guru as a representative of Krishna. And as we progress in devotional service, we come to see things more in terms of faith in Krishna rather than material rightness or material correctness, if you want to say, because that's actually progress in spiritual life. So it's not that the Guru knows like every single thing. Prabhupada said the Guru knows what God wants to tell him. He knows what Krishna needs him to know. But he's not omniscient in the sense that Krishna is omniscient. So our faith in a spiritual teacher, therefore it's recommended, we shouldn't see a spiritual teacher materially, thinking that, they're old, or they kind of walk with a limp, or they don't know every single material fact about whatever. But that's not the point of a spiritual teacher. That's not what we're trying to get from a spiritual teacher. And we also have Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. So we have the Guru, we have the scriptures, and then we have the other saintly persons. And these three are checks and balances where we can understand the truth through these triumvirate, these three things. But we shouldn't see the Guru as being like materially omniscient or something like that, and allow our faith to be disturbed by the Guru not being materially all-knowing or something like that. That's not the role of the Guru. The role of the Guru we should see as their faith in God, their faith in Krishna. They're as a pure servant of God. We pick up that. We pick up that from them. That's what we learn from them. And of course the practical process of a devotional service. They're not God, but they're a confidential servant and a confidential messenger of the Lord. Okay, so is there any comments or reflections on that? This issue of faith. Oh, one thing I was going to say, I'll just say one more thing. I didn't have written here, but it was one main point, was that sometimes when we're reading the Vedas, the Vedas are extremely explicit about the nature of the spiritual world, and we don't find this so much in other religions. Other religions are, although the topic is the same, love of God, developing humility, developing faith, coming to a higher spiritual level that's in our heart rather than the selfish material level of the mind and the senses. This same basic message is there. But in the Vedas is given very detailed descriptions of the spiritual world and even this material world in inconceivable kind of descriptions that you just think, wow, that's inconceivable. Like I have no idea how. And we're not meant to. We're in these stuck in these little three-dimensional bodies with these very limited minds, and we're reading these fantastic things. So one thing that I find helps me with this kind of thing is that we when we hear something that we just think, oh, I don't think I can accept that, or I can't, that's just beyond, then we can just kind of like park it to the side. We can just kind of like, what do you say? I saw one, I was watching one workshop or something once, and the facilitator was taking questions, and they took a question that wasn't exactly to do with the topic they were on. And they said, oh, let's park that question over here, and they put the question on the whiteboard, and they said, we'll come back to that question, but for now we're working on this, and later on we'll come back to that question. They called it parking the question. So that's the kind of thing with these, if something disturbs our faith, that we're in the beginning stages and we read something and we say, and it might be something about social organization, or it might be something about the spiritual world, or whatever it is. We can ask people about it, and more advanced devotees, we can, but another option, or combined with that, is to just sort of park that to the side and say, look, I don't really fully understand that now, but I still have faith that I'm making progress in this path, and let me just park that to the side, and later on I'll come back to that. And I found, so I've been chanting mostly seriously for about 30 years, and I know things that I was totally bewildered by in the morning, in the morning of my devotional service in 1994. I now just think, oh yeah, that's obvious. But at that time I was like, oh no. So sometimes when the whole process of faith is actually an expansion of our consciousness, and it's interesting if we think about it, that those people who are advanced spiritually, like our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, the six Goswamis, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Gokishora Swamiji, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, like those Paramahamsa, those really advanced devotees that write so much, and they're in that spiritual world. We see that they have the experience of the spiritual life, and they also have the experience of the material life, right? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was a judge, he was a magistrate, not just a judge, he was like in the British system, so he lived from about 1850 to 1920-ish, about in that age. So he was like a district magistrate in Nadia, so that's like they would basically adjudicate over all of the cases and everything, more like a managerial or government office, but actually in the court. So it's very high, and the British really relied on him because he was able to very fairly judge people. So extremely respected by everyone in society. He knew Persian and Sanskrit and obviously English. He knew all the different languages. He was extremely learned. As well were the six Goswamis, similar. Rupa and Sanatana Goswami were the same. They were prime ministers to the huge kings that ruled over millions and millions of people. So they knew the whole material world, everything. They knew everything about diplomacy and family life, everything they knew, all of that. But they knew the spiritual life as well. And when they have the two, they explain to us that this spiritual life is whole different level. It actually gives satisfaction to the soul. It actually makes you happy, right? But this material life doesn't. So they have experience of both. But if we just listen to a materialist, somebody who's very successful materially, and says, I don't want to know anything about this spiritual stuff, they just objectively, not subjectively, just objectively, they don't have knowledge of those two things. You see what I'm saying? The point? There's no basis of comparison, exactly. It's like somebody who's played, test cricket or something, and then somebody who's played club cricket, and they can say, oh, that's a whole different thing. The ball's going at 100 kilometers an hour, and in the club cricket it's just, and whatever. Like, if that ball hits you, like it's like, and, then there's the crowd screaming, and the pressure of the press, like they know the whole field. But if somebody's just played club cricket, they don't know the field. There's no comparison. So yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about if we're, and to be honest, that is, I think, has helped me personally with my faith, in the sense of just continuing on with this path. as much as the direct experience of chanting and reading Prabhupada's books, the direct experience and the bliss and the happiness I get from that, but as well, that has been a huge thing that's kept me going. Because when I read the books of the six Goswamis and quotes from Prabhupada and that, you can see that they're on another level, and you think, oh, I'd like to be there. I'd like to be what they're talking about. I'd like to do that. So it gives you that faith when you see people who are there. So this is another point, that what we find is, if we do sort of park these, if we have a crisis of faith, or we have something that really, if we just park that to the side and keep going with our practice. Sorry, I didn't ask her to. She's taking it. We'll find that down the track we'll understand that in a very different way than we understand it now. So that's it's not, and again, because faith in Krishna consciousness is not a sort of binary political statement that yes, I have, he has no faith, or I have faith, and it's not just a binary yes or no. It's actually a commitment to the process of thinking that I've tried so many things in this life, I've tried so many things to be happy in this way and that way, but this spiritual happiness is actually going to give me happiness, and this is actually going to give me the perfection of life, like the ultimate happiness of what I want, and I can see I'm making progress. I can see I'm making progress. And just like, if we, like back in the day before there was the, the sat nav and Google Maps and all that stuff. Before that, you had to have maps, right? And so you had a map you're trying to drive from here to Sydney, and you look on the map and it says, you're here in 50 kilometres, you'll come to Ballina, and you drive 50 kilometres, and then you see Ballina. And you go, all right, so I have some faith in this map, and then you drive another 100, 200 k's, whatever, and it's, Port Macquarie and Coffs Harbour, then Port Macquarie. And you get faith. And so this process that is laid out, we say, there's having some faith to want to associating with devotees, and then performing the activities, there's clearing of the heart. These will be the issues that'll come up. There's a process, and as we follow that process, then we get more faith, because we say, okay, I'm on this process, and actually I'm somewhere around this stage. I can see that, yes, I'm actually developing some faith. I'm actually developing some steadiness in service. Yes, there's still some anarthas are coming, unwanted habits are coming and disturbing, so the service is not, completely nishta, it's not completely, so I'm somewhere in that area, and we can see that, okay, as I progress, then finally I'll get to love of Godhead, prema. That's the map that's laid out. So that's another element of faith, that we have faith in the process. We don't have to have an all-encompassing faith that yes, I believe everything or something like that, but we have to have a faith that we're going to continue on this path and continue to make progress. That's the essence. Yeah. All right, so that was the final point. So we have some time. Virginia, yeah, he's got a question. What's your question, girl?
Sometimes I hear people saying Prabhupada's secret weapon.
Prabhupada's secret weapon?
Yeah.
Well, it's a secret, isn't it?
It's not really secret. I think you know it.
You know a secret? When somebody tells you, I know a secret, but don't tell anyone. And I go, okay, fine, you tell them. And then they go to someone else and say, hey, I know a secret, but don't tell them. Oh, okay, I won't tell them. Then they tell someone else and say, I have a secret, but don't tell anyone. And pretty soon, everybody knows. So what's the secret? What's Prabhupada's secret weapon? Does it start with G? His secret weapon is the Hare Krishna mantra, that's for sure. Huh? Gulab Jamun? What? Mommy's got a sore neck, careful.
It's sweet.
Oh, sweets. Sweets are Prabhupada's secret weapon, yes. definitely. Especially with kids, right? Okay, thank you. All right. Does anyone else have a question or comment? Yep, Julian?
Thank you for the Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you for the nice class.
You're welcome.
And
Hare
nice
Krishna.
topic.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add a quote from Kadamba Swami, which
Sure, please do.
you kind of touched upon
Yeah.
already. He said, we develop faith from where we get pleasure from. So that means that if we get pleasure from material life, then we develop material faith. And if we get pleasure from spiritual life, then we develop spiritual faith. Just wanted to add to that.
Very good. Yes. So we have to develop a taste for spiritual life, for the process, and then we'll get more faith in it. Yeah. Anything else? We have 10 minutes. Any just reflections on the difference between what we've been talking about this evening as far as what faith is in Krishna consciousness compared to what we normally think of, or what people generally think of as faith? Yeah? Do you want to say? Can you give the microphone to Virginia? Just tap it the button once.
I guess the main difference is Krishna. I guess that's the difference, really, isn't it? Like doing it for Krishna, like believing, not just believing, but this is like, correct me if I'm wrong. So I feel like what the description was, if I, in my devotion to Krishna, faith that everything else is going to be okay. I don't need to worry about anything else. Just Krishna needs to be the focus, and that's all. There's nothing else that I need to worry about, would you say?
Well, I mean, it's saying that by performing devotional service, then everything else is performed. So by performing devotional service, the ultimate goal of life is achieved. Then once that goal is fixed up, then it becomes a matter of how do we perform devotional service, right? And that becomes that becomes an assistant to doing service. We talked about the other day, we gave a class on Sunday, and there was talking about astrology and different things like that. So those other things, whether it's like our occupation, how we earn our money, whether it's where we live, do we live in the ashram, or are we married, we have our own house, or we, these other things, they support us doing devotional service. If we live in a place that's very disturbed and there's people, playing really loud, tamasic, hardcore music all day and whatever, that's very hard to chant and be peaceful. So it doesn't mean that if we just do service to Krishna, then we can forget about everything else and doesn't matter. It means that we don't pursue any other things, any other paths or any other dharmas. Krishna says this exact point in the end of the Gita, after explaining all the yoga systems and the three modes of nature and how, Purusha and Prakriti and everything. He then says, Sarva Dhamma Parityajya, just give up all those dharmas and surrender to me. Right? So, but notice then what happened, what did Arjuna do with that instruction? Then he went and fought for 18 days on the battlefield. Right? He was a warrior. So he killed thousands of people, he got hit with arrows, that was his response to give up all other activities. right? So we can see the example is given there, that give up all activities doesn't mean just, I just become like a jellyfish, just float around the ocean and whatever floats into my, mouth, whatever I eat. But it means that we put that service to Krishna as the prime goal. That's the goal. And we then see, okay, how can we best serve Krishna from our perspective and do that the best that we can. One of the items of devotional service is to offer Krishna that which we find very dear. So if we've spent our life, being very expert at managing money and managing other people's money, if we worked in finance or something like that, and then when we come to Krishna and we say, oh no, I'm not going to do any of that anymore, I'm not going to do... And it's like, what? The thing that you felt, most expert at, that you were most dear with, managing money and finance, whatever, you should do that for Krishna. Manage Krishna's money, figure out how, whatever, or whatever it is. If it's art, if we're very artistic, then we shouldn't say, oh no, I'm not going to do that, I'm just going to sit like a stone, Hare Krishna, Hare. No, if we're very artistic, we should do art for Krishna. We see here, even the beautiful paintings that are done. Swan devotee Ramprasad Prabhu that comes very often to the temple, he's an incredible artist. Like you'll see his paintings just like world class, amazing. The paintings of Krishna, and he reads the descriptions of the spiritual world by the acharyas and he paints them. So he's using that for Krishna. So that in a sense that when we surrender to Krishna, it means that then everything will be all right. Everything will be all right ultimately, but there'll also be challenges along the way. Like Prabhupada said, we have our karma as like a fan gun. We've unplugged that fan. As soon as we say, all right, Krishna, I surrender. I'm not going to try anymore to be the Lord of this material world. I'm not going to try anymore to imitate you. I want to become your servant. So we pulled out that plug of karma, right? We pulled out the plug of the fan, which is like our karma of trying to do things in this world, therefore reactions are coming, everything. But when you pull out the plug of a fan, what happens? The blades are still going for some time. So like that, there's still some residual karma is coming for us. There's still some little bit of karma. We still get some reactions to that, in whatever. Like if our karma was we're a very intelligent person that could affect people with our speaking and, do all this kind of stuff, and we become a devotee, then we have to be careful. That karma is that we can become proud of that. We can become proud of doing that. Or if we're very strong and we can do so many things, we become a devotee. Still, there's that residual karma of being, very capable and whatever. That devotee will still have to utilize that for Krishna, and will have to be careful. Sometimes that will become an issue for them. That residual sort of karma that's there. So this is the process. So there's two things. There's like, okay, we're trying to get to Sydney. That's the goal. We have friends in Sydney and we're going there for a holiday. And we set up, okay, that's the goal. We're going to Sydney. Now we can't just say, we're just going to Sydney, that's all. And we just want to drive from here to there. If there's a roadblock, this highway is flooded, we can't just say, no, we're just going to Sydney. Sydney's this way. We just drive straight into the floodwater and drown. You know what I'm saying? No, that's silly. We know the ultimate goal is Sydney, but this block we have to go around here. For some time we have to go around, and this other highway do whatever. So that's how to surrender to Krishna, how to serve Krishna. All of those, how to do that, which way to do it, that we can talk with the devotees and talk with our friends, and we can work that out. But the ultimate goal, what we're actually doing is surrendering to Krishna. And that's very different to having a material goal. Having a material goal. No, I want to become something in the material world. I'm going to put my devotional service on hold. I did all this devotional service, but now, I need to get my life together. I need to go out there, I need to do that, whatever. And I'm just going to put all this on hold. I'm going to put my bead bag, put my chanting down and go and do this. No, not like that. That's what Krishna is saying. Don't do like that. You can do what you need to do at the same time. Always keep that goal. How am I improving in my chanting? How am I improving in my my appreciation of the scriptures. How am I improving in my own qualities, like just humility in the basic, like humility meaning I'm free from the desire for being honored by others. We all have that. And in the beginning, when we come, then, many of us, we feel like, oh, why aren't they recognizing, why aren't they saying, oh, yes, you, whatever. But as we go on, we see, oh yeah, and that doesn't really disturb me anymore. I'm more concerned about what Krishna says than the external kind of thing. So we can see that we're making progress. So that, introspection of how we're making progress, our chanting, our reading, all that can go on while we do whatever else. If we get into family life, if we're young and we get into family and we have kids, or if we're old and we have kids, whatever, then we have a duty to them. But still, the devotional service go on. If we have to have some job and that's very time-consuming, whatever, okay, for some time we do that. But the ultimate goal is, fixed up. That's the point of this. We keep that goal. And if we keep that goal and keep doing that, this is the definition of faith, is given that simply by performing devotional service. It doesn't say just do devotional service and be negligent in all your material duties. It definitely doesn't say that, because that is not what Arjuna did. He even said that to Krishna. Maybe I should just go to the forest. And Krishna said, he laughed, he said, what are you talking about? You're a fighter, you're a warrior. You're going to fight someone, you're going to manage some people somewhere or another. You might as well do it now and do it for me. Do it for Krishna, do it for God. Do what you're doing, but do it for God. So we're all fighters, we all have our whatever we do. But we have that alignment of doing it for Krishna. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. You asked a really good question. Is there anything else? Hare Krishna. Is there any other final points or anything? You okay? You're good? Govinda showing me the time, 6 o'clock. Okay. All right. Thank you all very much for coming and having this talk about faith. This verse, Bhagavad-gita 9.3, and we can meditate on this more. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.